Victor, so welcome. I hope you are excellent. How did you hear about the happy news?
Yeah, yeah. Happy news and great news indeed.
Yes. So what did they do? Did they call you straight away at the day of your interviews, or how did they get noticed?
So I got the notice the next day after my interview.
Mhm.
Actually, I was at a different recruiting event for a different company,
Yeah.
and that I also got an exclusive invite to. And then I saw my phone ring, and I felt like to step out to take the call. Then I
Yeah.
picked it, and then the managing director and partner talked about how happy he was to meet me, blah blah blah. And then he
Yeah.
says, "Well, we want to extend you an offer, and for as long as you'd like to stay with us." So,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that was how I got the news.
Okay. Yeah, BCG Canada is big, right? So congratulations again for this. But let's also maybe speak a bit about your journey, right? So what was maybe in first place the reason for seeking professional help on the journey? Maybe let's start with this and then we take it from there.
Awesome. So I actually started tracking the MBB offer machine in 2022 when I worked in Germany. So I
Okay.
had seen a few videos online where
Yeah.
you and your CD would come up on my YouTube advert. I kept
Yes.
wondering, yeah, a lot of coaches actually say that they have results, but I'm not so sure about this. So I kept
And you're one of many thinking the same, right? So
yeah,
you're
yeah.
also getting a lot of comments like, stop displaying the stuff to my YouTube, right? People are
Exactly.
complaining all the
I got
time.
that in thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I kept watching, but I knew I was going to pivot at some point to consulting because I had a chat with a partner at Strategy and in Germany. He was the one who told me what consulting was. So I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about consulting throughout my
Yeah.
undergrad days. And so I figured this might be the next step for me. And
Yeah.
then later I decided to go for my MBA. And when I made the decision to go for my MBA and move to Canada, I decided maybe it was now time to get some help because I did a few cases I messed up. I thought I knew how to solve problems. It was terrible. It was terrible. So I knew that there's no way I'm going to get an offer this way. So
Yeah.
I got to get some help. But I don't want to memorize 50 frameworks. I'd read some materials just in passing, but I don't want to memorize framework. Doesn't work for me. I
Yeah.
don't enjoy doing that. So I figured who can coach me in a way that would not have me memorizing frameworks.
Yeah.
And then I remembered your program. And then a friend of mine, incidentally, also was part of your program who mentioned that she really learned a lot, and then I decided, fine, I'm gonna give it a try, and that's when
Yeah.
I signed up.
Okay, very good. And what was the biggest lesson that you learned on the way? Is there something specific that stood out for you?
Yeah, to be honest, what I learned along the way was two things. The first was how to think very clearly.
Mhm.
Again, I thought that I knew how to think clearly, but unfortunately, when I did a couple of cases, it became very obvious that my thinking was not as clear as I thought. So that's the first thing. The second thing was how to communicate in a way that the next person could understand what exactly I'm trying to solve and what exactly I'm trying to say. Now, that was terrible before I started the program, but during the program, as I got more
Mm.
senior calibration and I actually peer practiced more, I started to notice that I found it easier not just to think clearly, but also
Yeah.
to communicate with the interviewer in a way that made sense. In fact, I listened to many of my recordings as I continued to progress, and I saw that there was a huge difference in
And
how I actually did that.
And you're proving this right now, right? Because
Yeah,
you had an enumeration at the beginning. I'm not sure if you
exactly.
proposed this,
Yeah,
right? So there are
yeah,
2 points, point one, point two. Let me go into
exactly.
details. Point one was this, point two was this. There were two
Uh-huh.
subparts to point two. This was this and this. So it was a three-layer communication about
Exactly.
about that
The
now,
same
right?
thing.
So
I'm now so
yes,
used to it that I can't
yes.
even get away
Oh,
from it.
that's the best type of feedback is if people are proving it on the spot, right? So I
Yeah,
like this a lot. So thank you
yeah.
for that. But you also know, right now and then, I was pretty mad at you throughout the journey because you were a bit late, right? So everything needed to happen in only a couple of days when others sometimes have weeks at their disposal. Yes, it is possible. Yes, I saw that you are also putting in the work, right? So that
Yeah.
was exceptional here. So you showed up every single time I can remember, right?
Yeah.
And I saw the progress, and that is part of my job, why I'm so happy, right? So if you collaborate with someone and you're seeing that person grow, right, more or less within days, that's absolutely amazing. But yeah, it was just a very intense journey for everyone
Yeah.
involved here, right?
Yeah.
So good.
It was
um
super intense.
was there something specifically helpful for you, or what was the most helpful part of the journey here that we took together? Was there something specific that stood out?
Now, of course, there are a few things that stood out, but
Mhm.
the one thing that specifically stood out, at least for me,
Yeah.
was the tough coaching or the tough love coaching I got from Marika.
Yeah.
Now, in my final coaching session with Marika, I thought I had nailed down the clarification questions and the structure for the go or no go,
Yeah.
no go or no go structure. And then I had the third uh, mentor coaching session with Marika.
Yeah.
Marika pushed me so hard on that last session that I
Yeah.
thought, oh my God, I've not gotten this 100%. Now I was probably 80% there, but
Yes.
she pushed me even further. And guess what? I took that final push that she gave me and took it to my interview. And that was what I think set me apart because every comment I got was around how I asked very tailored clarifying questions and built a structure that felt super tailored to the client and the question at hand. That was what stood out particularly to me. I mean, I didn't take it personally. She just wanted me to be better. So
Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
Yes, I love this. I love this so much, right? Because you often have this notion of, yeah, I cannot take that time at the beginning, right? So that's the one extreme.
Exactly.
I cannot invest time, right? I need to jump directly into my pre-learned frameworks because then otherwise I cannot guess my way through the case, right? I don't have enough time. But that's the one extreme where people are just like, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Based on the pre-learned framework. And they believe this is clarity in thinking, right? So when they're going through a set of 10 vocabularies, more or less, right? So is it this framework? Is it this framework? Is it this? No, that's trial and error, right? That's not clarity in thinking, just like a comment here. That's the one extreme. And the other extreme is, yeah, let me ask everything that could be potentially interesting here throughout the next like 25 minutes, where they test all kinds of random hypotheses here. Is this market related or is this client related, right? I can hear the voice here inside my head. And like 50 other questions where they don't understand it's not about asking random questions. You should exactly, I mean exactly, ask the questions that are necessary to come up with a contextual approach for the problem that you want to solve. Not a
Exactly.
single one more, not a single one less,
Yes.
right? And what is important here is to make sure that you can justify every single question that you're asking. And that makes the difference because if the interviewer is asking you back, so why do you know this? Or why do you need to know this? You have a good answer here, right? And that will make the difference in between people that are not asking at all because they will not use that information anyways, or the people that are asking 20 random questions that they will never use later on, right? And that is like, and this shows you can verify every single statement that you are making. You can justify every single question at the beginning, and you can easily explain what you will use the answer for in order to drive the case, right? That is the level you need to hit, and you hit it exceptionally well, right? I love this. And the feedback wasn't only once, right? So that you're asking
It
thoughtful
wasn't once,
questions.
it was multiple times. In fact, the first case I had, the interviewer pushed back on one of my questions.
Yes,
Oh, why are you asking that question?
exactly.
I didn't even think twice. I said, this is why I'm asking. And she said, fantastic. And then
That's
she
the point.
gave
That's
me an
exactly
answer.
yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you, right? So and this is then it needs to be seen as an investment, right? It's not time that you're throwing off or that it's an investment of solving the right problem, right? Because if you know that you're solving the right problem, many things will not happen throughout the next 25 minutes, right? Compared to a trial and error approach, and then you will go along with that, right? I love that.
I mean, I
Good.
also want to say it's important for people to know that you can actually structure how you're going to solve the problem. For instance, in my final case
Yeah.
with the last MDP, he asked me a question at the beginning before I even finished my clarifying question. He
Yeah.
said, "So I would be interested in knowing why the client is stuck at this level." And I said, "Okay, would you like me to answer that now, or would you want me to finish asking my clarifying questions?" Oh, so he said, "Okay, go ahead, ask your clarifying questions." Then, when it was time to do my structure, I said, "Would you like me to answer your previous question now, or you want me to draw my structure next?" He said, "Go ahead and draw your structure. You can answer the question later." And then I drew my structure and I answered the question in my structure. So I brought order to that chaos. He wanted him to start talking immediately. I
Yes.
said, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to talk immediately.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
manage your expectations." And that was really good to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yes, and that's another one, right? And I love it. It's touching up on how do you steer the conversation because it is your responsibility to steer it. Because if you at the end of let's say the starting phase of that conversation, if you don't have a clear plan aligned with the interviewer, it will bite you, right? So maybe 5 minutes later, maybe 10 minutes later, maybe at the very end when you're realizing you solved the wrong question, and you cannot imagine how often that happens, right? So I've seen so many people solving the wrong question, and they didn't even notice it, right? So they were probably even going out of that interview and said, I nailed this, right? And then as an interview, you sit there, and after 10 minutes, you already know this is not going to lead anywhere, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, but different story. Okay,
Yeah.
let's conclude this. So is there one advice that you would have for individuals starting into that journey, right? Is there anything specific that you would advise future consultants here with regards to the preparation?
Yeah, in terms of preparing for the whole process of networking and interviewing, particularly if you are just starting out, there's a very high chance that you will get to a point where what I call the valley of despair. You will feel and ask yourself tough questions. Is this for me? Especially after your first and second mentor coaching session. That's what I felt. I felt, is this even for me? I mean, I didn't want to give up. I didn't think about quitting, but I started to ask myself questions. Am I ever going to get this? Will I ever be able to communicate in the way that I'm supposed to communicate to get that offer? And that would happen. And I remember watching the video where you did on the program where you said, okay, this is probably where you are now. You're feeling, this is informed.
Yes.
You're feeling informed now. You're feeling a lot of despair. But he said, this is normal. And now you will move into a different stage. So I kept going at it. And that's something that's going to happen to almost everybody. A lot of the peers I also spoke to experienced the same thing. And so I knew it wasn't just me. So if you're just starting out, I want to encourage that that's going to happen to you. But keep pushing. You're about to just break through and get into wherever it is that you want to do. And by the time you break through, honestly, when I finished my interview, I felt like I was over prepared. Like, okay, this case wasn't as difficult as I thought. But actually, the reason I felt that way was because I'd been super coached, bulletproof. I was ready. I was so ready.
I
So
love it. And that's the mindset component also kicking in here, right? So we call it the emotional cycle of change. It's actually a concept widely used in psychology and also in transformation programs, right? It's not like we have not invented this, but it's a very nice model to explain what you will go through and that's the point, if you learn a new skill, right? And that will make the difference here. Because it's easy if you do another 50 cases, if you do another 70 cases, right? It's easy to improve on the nuances. And if you see this like a vocabulary test, you will also grow the number of vocabularies that you can easily give back, right? But that's not the point. The point is to actually learn a new skill. And with learning a new skill, you first need to unlearn how you've done things in the past, right? And there's a lot of pain involved here on that journey, right? And you pushed through in only a couple of days, which was impressive, but I can also only imagine how painful it was, right?
oh, it was so painful. 3 a.m. every day for 2 weeks before my interview at 3
Yeah.
a.m.
Okay.
But it made sense, like I said, because I'd invested the previous months doing it at my own pace. So
Yeah.
it's not like I was starting from scratch. I just
Yeah.
had a very few days to ramp up my performance.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah.
Very good. Cool, Victor, thank you so much for this. And then all the best here for a great career to happen from now.
For sure. Thank you so much, Joran. Really appreciate your help.